Hi, everyone. Welcome to our psychopathology course. I'm Dr. Joshua Swift. I'm a faculty member here in the psychology department at Idaho State University. For this week's lecture, we're going to be doing introductions to the course. We'll focus on the syllabus and go through each of the assignments and schedule and readings for the course. If you have any questions at the end of this lecture or after reviewing the syllabus, please feel free to contact me by email. Now, before we get started going over the syllabus and course requirements, I wanted to play a little game I call Find the Psychologist. So for this game, go ahead and take out a piece of paper or something to take notes on as you play the game. You'll be able to earn points in it. Now, they aren't real points that will apply to your grade or anything, but just fun points to see how you do. Basically, there are 6 rounds in the game, and we're going to go through the 6 rounds 2 times. The first time around, I'm going to show you a list of individuals, and among each list is one psychologist. You get 1 point if you're able to identify who the psychologist is, and then 1 extra point if you can identify the common occupation of the remaining individuals. Okay, you ready? Round 1. Who's the psychologist among this list, and what's the occupation of the remaining individuals? All right, now probably an easier round. Hopefully you identified that the psychologist is Sigmund Freud, and the remaining individuals are all actors or actresses. All right, round 2. Who's the psychologist, and what's the remaining occupation? Okay, this one's probably a little more difficult. Bruno Bettelheim is the psychologist, and the remaining individuals are all artists. Ready for round 3? All right. Here we have Stephen Hayes as the psychologist, with the remaining individuals all being athletes. Now time for round 4. All right. On this list, Lawrence Kohlberg is the psychologist, and the remaining individuals are all politicians. All right, round 5. Got your answer? All of these individuals are scientists, and Marsha Linehan in particular is the psychological scientist. Final round. Okay, for this one, Kay Jamison is the psychologist, and the remaining individuals are all journalists. So add up your points so far. There's a possibility of 12 points, 2 for each round. How'd you do? Now I want to give you a bonus point. Think about it for a second. All the individuals that we listed, what do you think they all have in common? Go ahead, 5 seconds or so, try to come up with something. Okay, got your answer? Well, one bonus point if you came up with that all of these individuals have been diagnosed, or it's evident from historical documents that they've all experienced a mental health disorder. All experience one or more of the disorders that we're going to cover in this class. Now, typically when we think about mental health problems, oftentimes we think that it's something extreme or something strange. We often think that it's something that's very impairing in an individual's life, and it prevents them from really making anything of themselves or being able to accomplish much. But it's interesting that all of the individuals in our game here, the most successful athletes, politicians, actors, actresses, have all experienced one of these mental health problems. Okay, so let's go back through the list again. This is the second time through, and you can earn more points this time. I want you to just look at each list and take a guess what each person's mental health problem is. We'll start with the actors and actresses. What do you think? What might be the mental health problem for each of them? Go ahead and make a guess for each. For each one that you get correct, which you may not get very many correct, but for each one that you do get correct, give yourself an additional point. Okay, let's see. Interesting that a number of them have experienced some type of mood disorder. By mood disorder, I mean depression or bipolar disorder. It's interesting to think how those disorders might relate to their success as an actor or actress. Let's go on to the second list. These are the artists. What do you think for the mental health disorder for each of these individuals? All right. Did you get any right? Again, here we're seeing some depression and some bipolar disorder, but also here we're seeing a little more variety. It's interesting to note that a couple of these individuals have even experienced schizophrenia, one of the most severe disorders that we know about today. How do you think that these disorders might have fueled their creativity and led to some of their most famous works? All right, round three, the athletes. What disorders do you think these athletes experienced? All right, let's check your answers. We see some depression here, but notice that we see a little more of the anxiety disorders within the athletes. And think about that with their performance and the anxiety that might come with performing in front of large crowds of people. And the fact that their jobs depend on their ability to perform well in front of others. Now the politicians. Okay. Here, we notice that it's back to mainly the mood disorders again. Depression, bipolar disorder, and so on. And I wonder with these mood disorders, how much of their experiences perhaps influenced these individuals and motivated them to change others' lives for the better, to help others and make sure that others were happy and successful in the communities in which they live. All right, now the scientist. Okay, did you get any of these ones right? All right, final round, the journalist. All right, which ones did you get right? All right, so I always like to start my psychopathology course with this game. I love it because, like I said, often when we think about mental health problems, or when we think about these psychological disorders, we often think about them in the extreme. And we often think of individuals who maybe are placed in state hospitals, or individuals who may be a danger to themselves or others. But as serious as mental health problems can be, they're also very common. We'll talk about this more this semester, but it's estimated that about 25%, or 1 in 4 of us, will experience a mental health problem at some time in our life. And although these mental health disorders can be impairing, and although they can be very distressful to experience, mental health problems don't necessarily have to cause major limitations to our life. We see by this list of individuals that we just went through that they've experienced mental health problems and they've gone on to have major impacts on our society and the world. And this is despite their mental health problems. Now, I say despite their mental health problems, but some of their great accomplishments may have been, in fact, due to the mental health problems that they have experienced. And that's interesting. I like to start kind of with this thought exercise as we approach the topic for this course. All right, so let's jump into, though, what we're actually going to be doing this semester. Now, my goal for you for this semester is for you to gain a better understanding of the way the field of psychology looks at mental health disorders and the way the field looks at these psychological disorders to be able to understand the causes or the sources of the disorders and how we treat them. We're going to cover the mental health disorders specifically that are defined in the DSM-5. And that's the classification system that we'll talk about in an upcoming lecture. By the end of this class, my hope is that you'll be able to identify all of the different symptoms associated with each disorder. But in this course, I also want you to take it a step further. The textbook is going to help you in identifying the symptoms of the disorders and gain additional kind of knowledge, factual knowledge about them. But where I want you to take it a step further is I want you to be able to really think critically and deeply about the disorders. I want you to be able to figure out what they actually look like in real life and understand the theories behind them and try to make sense why they develop for an individual. Now, that type of understanding is going to come a lot more from the lectures that we'll have in this course, as well as the additional assignments that I'm going to have you do. So let's go ahead and talk about each of those parts. First is the textbook. On the syllabus, if you have that in front of you, you'll notice that each week has a chapter or 2 chapters that I want you to read from the textbook. This will give you some of the foundational factual knowledge about each of the disorders that we're talking about. Now, in addition to reading the textbook, though, each week I'll post some lectures and some other videos for you to watch. The lectures and these other videos are really designed, like I said, to bring the material to life, to help you think deeper and more critically about it. In the lectures, I'm going to be covering a lot of the material that's not in the textbook. In fact, there'll hardly be any overlap at all between my lectures and what you see in the textbook. You really have to know both of these things. So in my lectures, I'm going to share case examples of clients that I've worked with in the past or clients that I've supervised other clinicians in working with them. I'm also going to be able to share with you knowledge that I've gained through the research that I conduct, as well as the research of others in the field. And then in the videos that I post, in addition to the lectures, they're more designed to help you get real-world examples of what the disorders look like. They'll often be individuals who are sharing their own experiences with the mental health problems that we'll be talking about. Now, how you'll earn points from the lectures and the videos is to make sure to watch each of the ones that are posted for each week. And then at some point during the lecture or video, I'll give you a code word. So for example, the code word for this week's lecture is introduction. So now that you know the code word, of course, still finish watching the rest of the lecture. But when you're done, you'll go into Moodle or Canvas and do this week's assignment. And for this week's assignment, you just type in that code word and then you'll get the points. The second way to earn points in this course is the exams. The purpose of these exams is to test your knowledge of the material. What are you actually taking away in terms of knowledge? What facts did you learn? It's to really test the things that you learned from the textbook and the factual things that you learned from the lectures and videos. Now, these exams are all online. They're open book, open note. You can use whatever material you want, even the internet, but they are timed. And so you're going to have a limited amount of time to do them. If you haven't read the material or watched the lectures ahead of time, you'll have difficulty answering all of the questions in the time allocated. It's also important that with each of these exams, you do your own work. You can use whatever resources that you have in front of you, but you can't talk to other classmates or roommates or family members or anyone else for help on these exams. This is testing your knowledge, not theirs. Now, all the questions on the exam will be multiple choice questions. The third way for you to earn points in this course is by doing a book report. Now, this assignment is designed to help you gain a better understanding of what the disorders are really like, to help you dig deeper into a disorder that you might find more interesting. So on the syllabus, I have listed about 10 different popular books that cover mental health disorders. Over the course of this semester, I need you to read one of those books. Now, if you have a different book in mind that also covers a particular disorder and you would like to read it instead, I'm fine with that, as long as you get it approved by me first. For this assignment, you get the majority of your points just by reading the book. At the top of your final paper for it, you'll need to include a statement about how much of the book you read. So for example, a statement, I read 100% of the book, or I read 50% of the book. And that percentage will then be calculated to determine what your points are for that portion of the assignment. The remaining points will come from the report that you write. This is a 3-page double-spaced report. Now, it needs to be exactly 3 pages. On the first page, I want you to provide a brief summary of the book. Then on the second page, I want you to write about 3 main lessons you learned from the book. And then finally, on the last page, I want you to describe 3 things you are going to do differently in your life or career now that you have read the book. For this, you cannot use AI at all on this assignment, not even in editing your work. If you do, you will automatically receive 0 points, and this cheating will be reported to the university. Now, you will also be able to earn points in this class through the course activities. You'll need to complete these using the Moodle or Canvas forum function throughout the course of this semester. The purpose of these activities is to help you think deeper about the topics and give you some more hands-on experience with them. So for each one, you log into the course website and you go to the corresponding forum. In that forum, you create an initial post. Now, this needs to be done by Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. in the week in which they're assigned. Then by Saturday in that week, you need to reply to the posts of others. So for example, in the first week, it includes an introduction activity. For this activity, you need to first write a short introduction paragraph about yourself and post it to the forum. Then by the end of the week, you need to read through the posts of others in the class and find someone who has something in common with you, and then reply to their post, sharing that common theme. Now remember, with all of these forums and posts that you do online, it's important that you be polite and respectful in all of this communication. And also, this should not be done by AI either. It needs to be your own work. And since these activities are interactive, none of them can be completed late. If you don't complete the initial post by Wednesday at 11:59 in the week in which it's assigned, and the reply post by Saturday at 11:59 p.m., you don't get points for the activity. Okay, so that's the whole course. Those are the requirements and kind of an outline for what we're going to cover in it. You'll have more details on the syllabus, of course, so go ahead and look at that. If you do have any questions, my contact information is listed on the syllabus, so you can reach me that way. Now that we've covered the course, I want you to take a couple minutes before you finish this lecture, and I want you to think about and write down two things. First, what do you hope to achieve in this course? You likely have some reason for taking it. Perhaps it's a requirement for your major, or perhaps it's something that you just find interesting. Whatever your reason is, you probably have some connection to the material. Like I mentioned, 1 in 4 people in the United States suffer from a diagnosable mental health problem. And so it's likely that you yourself or you know somebody personally who has experienced a mental health disorder. And this course might be able to help you gain understanding and insight into that. But that depends on the effort you put into it. So take a minute and think, what do you hope to achieve in this course? And what's your goal for attending it? And then, as you have that in mind, I want you to write down, and please really do write this down so it's more concrete. It's right there in front of you. Write down, what do you need to do in order to achieve that goal? It's always great at the start of the semester to set the goals that you'd like to achieve. You're excited about the material, excited about the course. I know that excitement can kind of wane as the semester goes on. So set these goals now. What are you going to do to make the most out of this course this semester? Okay. And then when you have that written down, that's the end of this first lecture. In the next lecture, we'll start talking about psychopathology and what we think about what specifically is a mental health disorder in the field. Okay, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.